must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
I will begin with a statement, a short statement on the topic. 1. Cliffhanger politics occurs when the left hits the right hits the center hits the north hits the south. The state of confusion over taxation in this Republic of Kenya leaves a lot to be desired. From 2013, the MPs that were in Parliament at that time passed a budget, recommended that budget, and said the 16% levy would come into effect in 2013. But later on, they decided to push the date to 2018. President Uhuru Kenyatta took over a government that had obligations, both local and international. In international obligations, he had to continue to service the date that the government of President Kibaki had. Of course, with the continuation of assembling and making sure that the Constitution of 2010 works effectively, the president had to embark on a budget that could see cementing the rule of law through constitutionalism, making sure that all the institutions of the world, that the world wants, are working and work in Kenya. It is therefore very important to understand the root causes of the current taxation saga that continues to haunt and create cliffhanger politics into this nation. The 11th Parliament passed the budget. The 12th Parliament today found the budget and the tax levy had already been passed. For all these years, from 2013 to 2018, there are several oversight committees in Parliament, committees of finance, committees of budget, committees of all legal and other apparatus that work up in a democracy. Why did they look at this as very important taxation that had been shelved by the Minister of Finance? It is therefore very prudent and very important for the people of this country to understand, and the rest of the world to understand, that the international obligations and the factors that run around international agencies that lend in money, that support our programs in Africa, they come with conditions that you must fulfill before the sustenance of such grants or loans or whatever help they are giving to the nations in Africa. It is very important, therefore, to learn that behind all this, there is what we call cliffhanger politics. The politics that seeks to victimize. The politics that seeks to push a person to the wall. The politics that seeks to cause a state of despondency where the masses could turn against the president of republic of any country in Africa. These factors could be coming from both internal and external forces that are hidden, that would like to collapse the systems and replace the systems with their own likings. It is therefore very important for the people of Africa to watch out for such maneuvers, such Machiavellian systems of operation. Machiavellian in the sense that they planted the story, they orchestrate the script, they write the script, they tell, they engineer, they sit down and discuss the formula on how to weaken a government. One of the things disturbing Machiavellian politicians or cliffhanger politicians is what is it that it was in the handshake. It is this handshake that has pained even those who were moderate, who turn around to become hardliners. It is this handshake, the question of redemption, seeking redemption, that people are querying. What is it? What is it? What is it? What is inside it? The government therefore should move fast to make sure that they put it out in the 9-point program that we see, so that it is among the people that the terms of reference of all this is thrown to the people to make their own judgment. The second reason why cliffhanger politics works, or why people create cliffhanger politics, is to confuse the main item. What is the main item of Kenyans today? The main item of Kenyans is to fight corruption. Since President Uhuru Kenyatta declared that he will fight corruption through a lifestyle audit, there has been a sense of cliffhanger politics, direction of cliffhanging, of taking us to almost falling and then coming back. These are called diversionary tactics in political science. Tactics that take your enemy or your friend, or even tactics that can take a country into a bad direction, keep it there, bring it back, manipulate it, so that the main issue of corruption is not discussed. These are cardinal points that people must look at when you are fixing your mind on the current political, economic, social mechanisms that are operating on the state of Republic of Kenya. Like in Zimbabwe today, the cliffhanger politics has entered the same style of cliffhanger politics of Machiavellian. Boycott, don't come, come in later. Oppose, don't oppose, come in later. That is the way cliffhanger politics works. Any student of political science will know that those who seek to grab power through dubious means to cause despondency first go by causing a state of despondence by making sure that the masses hate the leadership. President Uhuru Kenyatta, as a shepherd, must strike the shepherd. As the owner of the sheep, must strike the shepherd once for all. Strike the shepherd, the sheep will scatter.
Good morning and a very warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining us this morning. This is Good Morning Africa, coming to you all the way from the Kenya's capital in Nairobi, East Africa, Kenya, and I am Miriam Ogutu. And of course, this is Good Morning Africa, coming to you in conjunction with South Cameroon Broadcasting Corporation, all the way in South Cameroon. Thank you so much. Dr. David Matanga will be joining me later on the show, and this is just a look at what to expect on today's show. We will start with the role of judiciary in governance and the politics of corruption in Kenya, as well as in the diaspora dispatches. We'll try to look at and answer the question of what really has happened to African Union role in conflict resolution in Africa, and we'll have a special look at Cameroon and Libya. Remember, the preamble of the OA, you remember before African Union, there used to be the Organization of the African Union that outlined the commitment of member states to collectively establish, maintain, and sustain peace and security in Africa, and at the same time defend the norm of intervention. But during that time, the OAU was not allowed really to intervene in some of these problems that faced the different African countries due to respect of sovereignty and, of course, territorial integrity and also independence of the member states. But later on that changed when OAU later on changed to African Union. That was in 2002, and now there's a special when it was launched, and there was a special charter that specifically committed the AU to intervene in in some of the member states under humanitarian and human rights ground, and that was ratified in 2009 after OAU was launched in 2002. But that was ratified in 2009 after AU, realized they can't just sit on the fence and see some of these things happening across Africa, and if they have to intervene under human state on humanitarian states and of course human rights ground, then they will have to. And so that has changed. But so far, we see how AU has been very reluctant in intervening in some of these conflicts that have been happening across the continent. And of course, we were just very much recently in the DRC after the elections and the conflict that followed after that. We saw the AU giving very mixed signals in terms of its stand when it came to what was happening in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And even in 2015, after the elections in Burundi, we saw the AU wanting to send some troops, and later on it made a resolution, and later on it had to pull it back. And so that really made people question really the AU's strength when it comes to governance and its position in Africa. And so that is something we'll be looking at in depth when you're looking at what has happened to the role of AU in conflict resolution in Africa, and that we'll look at when Dr. David Matsanga joins me on set. But right now, I'd like us to just go straight to the African news, and we look at what has been happening in Africa this morning. And we start with Cameroon, where international rights group Human Rights Watch says it is worried about the Cameroonian government's continued muzzling of the dissenting voices, especially that of opposition. In a statement titled "Cameroon Tightens Screws on Opposition," Human Rights Watch bemoaned what it describes as a crackdown on the Maurice Kamto-led MRC's right to assemble and protest, saying the statement came barely 24 hours to Kamuto's next court appearance. And we go to Sudan, where fresh anti-government protests have rocked Sudan since Saturday in what appears to be a new phase of 4-month popular uprising against President Omar al-Bashir's regime. Thousands of demonstrators staged protests in the capital Khartoum, outside the presidential palace, which also hosts the army headquarters and the defense ministry. This is the first time protesters reached the army headquarters, a sign that security forces resolve to put down the rebellion may be weakening. And still in Sudan, the United States says it supports the efforts of Sudanese people in seeking to oust of the current political establishment, especially given the peaceful and resilient nature of their demand. The United States also cautioned the government against the use of force on protesters, especially those engaged in a 3-day sit-in protest around the army headquarters in the capital, Khartoum. And we move to Eritrea, and now the country has issued a security alert to its citizens in Sudan in the wake of mounting anti-government protests in the heart of capital Khartoum, according to a statement issued by the Embassy of the State of Eritrea in Khartoum. Our citizens in Sudan and those traveling to are advised to limit their movements and take extra precaution. And we come to Uganda, where President Yoweri Museveni said on Monday that his country is safe for tourism and business after police rescued a kidnapped United States tourist and her local tour guide on Sunday. The American tourist and her guide were abducted by gunmen while on an evening game drive. The Ugandan police had said kidnappers demanded a ransom up to $500,000 for the release of the pair. United States President Donald Trump, in a tweet, welcomed the news of the release. He also called on Ugandan authorities to find the kidnappers and bring them to justice openly and quickly. We go to Senegal, where new reforms in Senegal could see the administration change to a more presidential system. This follows an announcement made by then Prime Minister Mohamed Boun Abdallah Dionne on Saturday that President Macky Sall had instructed him to launch reforms that would include the scrapping of the prime ministerial post. And we move to Libya, where the United Nations has condemned an airstrike that closed the only functioning airport in Libya's capital, Tripoli. On Monday, flights at Mitiga International Airport were suspended as passengers were evacuated. No casualties were reported. The United Nations blamed the airstrike on forces loyal to General Khalifa Haftar, a commander from the east who is trying to seize the capital. And we go to Rwanda, where a spokesman for the anti-Kigali Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda rebel group and FDLR intelligence officer have been charged with terrorism-related offenses in Rwanda. Nkaka Ignace and Jean-Pierre Nsekanabo were deported from neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo 2 months ago. They have been charged with 6 offenses, including membership of a terrorist group, taking part in terrorist activities and inciting others to commit terrorism. And in Tanzania, now Tanzania says it is planning to ban single-use plastic bags very soon. Environment Minister January Makamba told Parliament it was possible that a ban could come into force in July. The announcement comes 2 days after Kenya called on Uganda and Tanzania to take action at the use of plastic bags, penalizing their use with 4 years in prison or fines amounting to $40,000 US. And in South Africa, a South African court has recommended that Mozambique's former finance minister Manuel Chang should be extradited to the United States, where he is wanted on corruption charges. The former finance minister had fought against the extradition to the U.S., arguing he will get a fair trial in Mozambique. And to some business news across the continent, and remittances to developing nations reached a record high of around $529 billion in 2018, the World Bank has reported. This was an increase of 9.6% from the previous year, which had also been a record, it added. The 5 biggest recipients of remittances was led by India, which had $79 billion. And of course, remittances to sub-Saharan Africa rose by nearly 10% to $46 billion in 2018. And Djibouti last week dealt a heavy legal blow when a London-based international court ordered the Horn of Africa nation to pay up to $385 million in compensation to UAE global ports operator DP World over a breach of contract, according to Dubai government. The London Court of International Arbitration also ordered the African nation to pay interest for unilaterally scrapping a 50-year concession contract with state-owned DP World to manage and develop Dorale Container Terminal, a statement has said. So that is the latest from Africa this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. And in case you're joining us, this, of course, is Punchline Africa Television in conjunction with South Cameroon Broadcasting Corporation. And, of course, those were the African headlines this morning. And we see the atrocities. And, of course, when we'll be looking at what happened to the EU when it comes to its role in conflict resolution in Africa, we'll be looking at Cameroon and Libya as a case study when Dr. David Matanga joins me on set. But right now, you can see from the news there, the International Rights Watch Group is worried about what's really happening in Cameroon and, of course, the muzzling of the dissenting voices, especially the opposition. And, of course, the opposition leader, Maurice Kamuto, is right now facing very serious charges in Yaoundé court. And, of course, the government refused for him and his party, of course, the right to assemble and to protest the elections that happened in 2017 that were marred with irregularities. And it is believed that President Paul Biya did not have an outright win. And so the opposition leader has been contesting this. And of course, we cannot forget the marquee issue of the Anglophone, really, crisis, a humanitarian crisis that has been happening in that part of the central of the African nation. And of course, we've seen a lot of countries coming in to talk about it, especially from the West. We've seen U.S. putting on sanctions on Cameroon, and also we've seen the EU having their voice, and as well as Britain coming up strongly condemning what is happening right now in the Amazonian region of Cameroon. So that is some things we'll be looking at when we are trying to look at what exactly has the EU have done when it comes to this crisis in the south part of Cameroon. And, of course, these figures are staggering, the number of people that have been dead, the schools have been closed, and when you look at information coming from the English-speaking, they form 20% of the Cameroonian population with up to 23 million. So these are voices you can't just wish away. And so as much as Paul Biya tries to look at this like just something that is just, by the sidelines, you can't just sideline voices of 23 million people. This is something that, of course, the world and indeed should and must pay attention to. So we'll be looking at that when we try to see what role exactly has the EU played when it comes to conflict resolution, and what has it really done. And, of course, after the charter was ratified in 2009 that allowed the EU to, come into some of these member states and intervene under humanitarian grounds. But we've seen very little when it comes to EU's active role in solving some of these conflicts across Africa. So we will find out why. And, of course, South Sudan and President Omar al-Bashir, is still trying to hold on, put up face, but fresh anti-government protests that have rocked Sudan since Saturday really have ignited a new phase of the 4-month popular uprising against the Khartoum government. And now the demonstrators were able to find their way near the presidential palace. They've been wanting to do that for months now. And so on Saturday, it culminated, and they were able to find their way to the presidential palace. And, of course, the army was there to protect. But at some point, it fired tear gas and, to scatter the protest. But that is quite substantial. And now President Omar al-Bashir is facing imminent resignation as it is right now. Remember, the same was happening in Algeria, but of course, President Abdulaziz Bouteflika resigned last week. He could not continue being in office, even after the army had to come out and say, you know what, if you don't tender your resignation, then we're going to declare you unfit to rule Algeria. And so I think he was not receiving very much support. And when you're a president and you do not have the support of your army, then that is a problem. So President Abdulaziz Bouteflika of Algeria had to step down last week and tendered his resignation to a constitutional court. So now we're waiting to see what Omar al-Bashir is planning to do as things stand now. He's now looking for talks with the opposition and other groups, and I don't know how that will work out for him. 30 years year's rule. What else does he want to do in Sudan? I have no idea. But the people of Sudan are not relenting, and the capital, Khartoum, has been marked with a lot of protest, and this is very reminiscent of what happened during the Arab Spring that even happened in countries like Libya, Tunisia, and across the Arab world. And it's very much so what we see happening. Even the president has said, you know, this could be some foreign powers trying to, you know, help with this protest and incite these people and make it look like what happened during the Arab Spring. So he believes that foreign powers are strongly behind the protests that have been rocking the Sudan lately, and so we're just waiting to see if this latest pressures from the protesters and from the people of Sudan will be enough to get President Omar al-Bashir out of the office. I remember earlier this year, I think he fired part of his cabinet, and he put some army generals, you know, as cabinet secretaries. And of course, he put a 1-year curfew that was later reduced to 6 months. I think the courts reduced it to 6 months. And also, he'd wanted to ratify the constitution to allow him more time. And of course, that was thwarted. I think Parliament was not in agreement with that. So that was put on hold. So that did not see its day of light. So it's trying by all means to stick to power. 30 years later, what else will he do to the Sudanese people? They're already tired as it is right now. So I don't know if they're willing to take another year or another term of his leadership. And now, of course, President Omar al-Bashir, very much embattled, is calling for talks. So we'll see how that will work out. And of course, the United States have come out to support the Sudanese people. And of course, they are seeking the ouster of the current political establishment. The United States have made their voices very clear, and the country is saying, you know what? We support the people, and we support the peaceful and resilient nature of the people of Sudan. And they're cautioning al-Bashir's government and saying, in case you met the protesters with force and cause harm or cause deaths or things like that, then United States is looking very keenly, and they said they will not hesitate to impose more sanctions on Sudan. So that is a very tight situation that Bashir finds himself and his government, and of course his leadership that has been tainted with a lot marred with a lot of conflict as it has been lately. So I thank you so much, our viewers. Please, even as you write to us, let me know where you're watching us from. And thank you so much for joining us this moment. Remember, Dr. David Matang will be joining me just in a bit, and we'll be looking at the role of judiciary in governance, the politics of corruption in Kenya, and in diaspora dispatches, we'll look at what has happened to African Union role in conflict resolution in Africa, and we'll have a case study in Cameroon and Libya. And remember, as it is right now, in Libya, Libya has its own problems as it is right now with a crisis that is looming. And just yesterday, the only, I think I have it in the news here, the only functioning airport in Libya's capital, Tripoli, was on Monday bombed. Can you believe that? But there were no casualties recorded. But of course, it is believed that the airstrike was blamed on the forces that are loyal to General Khalifa Haftar. And in case you're wondering who this person is, actually he was very close to Omar Gaddafi. Earlier he worked in his army, and of course Haftar joined Benghazi's military academy in 1961. At the age of 26, he took part in the coup that brought Muammar Gaddafi to power in 1969, and in 1980, Gaddafi promoted Haftar to the rank of a colonel and sent him to fight in Chad, where he was captured by Chadians in 1987. With the start of anti-Gaddafi uprising in 2011, the field marshal returned to Libya, where he became a key commander of the makeshift rebel force in the east. So it is right now the commander defected from the Libyan army upon his release, backed by the CIA. This is an American operative, and he formed the military wing of the National Front for the Salvation of Libya to overthrow Gaddafi. Look at that. And now Khalifa Haftar later rose to power in February 2014 when he called on Libyans to topple the elected parliament and the General National Assembly. So right now, as it is, there's the government that is being supported by the United Nations, and then there's Haftar that there have been allegations that is being supported by Russia, but Russia has come out to really refute some of these claims, and they've said they have nothing to do with what is happening. And of course, if you've been watching keenly on between the US and Russia, there have been a lot of proxy wars, especially when it comes to Africa. Even in Somalia, there was such claims, and now in Libya, Russia's name is being dropped, but they've come out to strongly refute these claims, and they're saying they have nothing to do with what is happening right now in Libya, and they have no hand in it, and they're not supporting General Haftar. So, of course, he survived an assassination attempt in June 4th, 2014. Then he faded away to obscurity until the launch of the Operation Dignity. So now he's back, and his forces are fighting the government. And, of course, he wants to take over the capital, Tripoli, but that has been a tall order, and it's causing a lot of instability in an already very unstable country in Africa, that is Libya. So that is the situation that is developing even as you speak right now. A lot of chaos, and it's a crisis over there in Libya. And so what exactly has AU done? I know we'll talk about that later in regards to the situation in Libya. And of course, now we see Eritrea issuing a security alert to its citizens who are residing in Sudan. Yeah. And over the weekend, a tourist and her guide were kidnapped in Uganda. And a very interesting tweet from President Trump. But of course, they were able to be released, and the Ugandan president came out on Monday yesterday to say Uganda was safe for tourism and business, you know, after the kidnappers were, after the kidnapped tourist and her guide were, you know, rescued on Sunday. And of course, President Donald Trump, in a tweet, welcomed the release, but he also called on the authorities, the Ugandan authorities, to find the kidnappers and bring them to justice openly and very quickly. That is very synonymous, you know, with the President Donald Trump's tweets, if you have been following any of what he's been talking about. And so, so Tanzania right now wants to have a ban on single-use plastic bags. Of course, Kenya had its ban in 2017. There was a lot of uproar against that move, and Kenyans were not very happy about it. But I think from a couple of years, time later, I think we are used to that. And of course, the new bags that we use are more environmental friendly, and it reduces a lot of environmental degradation. And so now there have been a lot of plastic bags, even after the Kenyan government banned these plastic bags. There have been a lot of them coming from Uganda and Tanzania. So Kenya raised this issue. And so right now, Tanzania wants to ban the use of plastic bags, and the move might come as soon as be enforced in July. So yes, that is something that we'll be looking to see if they'll be able to. I remember in Kenya it was met with a lot of criticism, and it was not very welcome at the beginning, but right now we are used to it. You go with your shopping bag to the grocery store, and, you know, you carry. We're used to walking around with, you know, recyclable bags, you know, handbags. And so, of course, in 2017, Kenya introduced one of the world's strictest bans. I remember it made headlines across the world on plastic bags, penalizing their use. And if you're found, you pay a penalty of up to $40,000 US, and that is for real. So in Kenya, you don't walk around with plastic bags. You walk around with something that you recycle, much safer for the environment, and you just don't throw it anyhow. So that is that this morning. So let's see what's happening elsewhere in the Kenyan papers. And of course, still making headlines is the elections that happened in two places late last week. And there seemed to be opposition. The candidates that were being supported by opposition leader seemed to have lost. And so now it is being questioned, is the opposition losing its grip? And also, according to the Daily Nation, the headlines read, election loss, not a big deal, says Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga is the Kenya's opposition leader, who of course had that very famous handshake with the Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta, and that has brought some level of peace and sanity. And of course, some parts of the political divide have not been very happy with this, and they're reading a lot of mischief and politics, and it has not been very welcome. But this a perceived loss is seen as though the opposition is sort of losing, because one of the winners that came from the backyard of Raila Odinga, the opposition leader, and he lost. The candidate that the party filed lost that seat to a person that ran through a party that is not popular in that region. So that also speaks to the changing dynamics when it comes to politics in the Nyanza region of Kenya. So, but of course, opposition leader thinks those ridiculing his party are reading too much into the outcome of the by-elections, which he says, while tightly contested, it could go on either way. And so the Ugenya people had their way, had their say, and of course also in Embakasi. There was another election, and the opposition ODM party lost to another candidate. And so also on the Daily Nation, I see here why Uhuru is losing grip on Mount Kenya. Mount Kenya is the backyard of President Uhuru Kenyatta, and there has been a lot of dissenting voices, especially that has come out after the very famous handshake. And as President Uhuru Kenyatta focuses on the fight against corruption and the Building of Bridges initiative agreed with opposition leader Raila Odinga, Deputy President William Ruto has invested his energy and resources in building a massive following in Mount Kenya region, where several members of parliament and constituents are singing his praises. So as President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Odinga has been on that other side, preaching and talking about the peace, the handshake and the Building of Bridges initiative, and how it's good and will benefit Kenyans moving forward. His Vice President, William Ruto, has been on the president's turf, and right now he seems to have wooed a lot of residents over there who are now just singing his praises. And if you watch our Kenyan news, a lot of Sundays, I think he attends church, a lot of church services over in the central province and across areas that are perceived to be strongholds of President Uhuru Kenyatta. So as the president is doing something on this other side, his Vice President William Ruto seems to be investing his resources. This is according to the Daily Nation, to build a massive following in the Mount Kenya region. And that is, yes, that is something that we'll be looking forward to see how that plays out. All right, and we look at, still on the headlines on the Star, how I defeated Raila in Ugenya. That is what Ochieng, the now elected member of parliament in Raila, he says he denies Deputy President Ruto supported him and asked his allies to stop taking credit. So he says the Ugenya MP-elect David Ochieng, he said the people of Ugenya elected him on his own merit. He did not need an endorsement from Raila Odinga, and he did not need an endorsement from Deputy President William Ruto, because people have been perceiving him to be associated with the Deputy President William Ruto, and so he says no, it had nothing to do with that. It had nothing to do with him opposing or not running with the ODM party of Raila Odinga. People of Kenya saw what he's been doing for them, and his track record speaks for himself, and so they elected him on his own merit, and so he's telling his critics, please don't put credit where it's not due. I did this on my own, and so that's what David Ochieng, their MP-elect for Kenya, is saying. And also, yes, also inside Somali-Kenya maritime border dispute, I think the Star is carrying out the story. It's been a while since we've had, especially after the Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, together with his Somali counterpart, came to Kenya to have this conversation, diplomacy talks, and since then we've not heard so much from the media. It's been very, underrated, but now we see the Star has a story on it. Maybe I should just take a look at that. Let me see the page. Inside Somali-Kenya Maritime. Yes, so I don't know if there are new developments. And of course, historical ties are at stake after Somali sidestepped a deal it signed with Kenya in 2009 to resolve the matter amicably. So Kenya basically wanted an out-of-court talk and diplomacy talk, but Somalia insisted on going to the International Court of Justice. So they had their different ways on how to resolve this and mechanisms on how to go through this. And there have been rumors that, of course, there are some external forces that are forcing Somalia to go through the International Court of Justice. And so there have been a lot of politics around that. So according to the Star here, when Somalia filed a maritime boundary dispute at the International Court of Justice in 2014, it drove a wedge between the two countries whose relationships is like what of sesame twins. So Kenya has long been a protector and defender of Somalian interests, yet it now found itself at loggerheads with its northern neighbors. So, yes, if you know the relationship between Kenya and Somalia, then you will understand where the writer is coming from. And, also on the Standard, a mother and her daughter escape a crash. I saw this story on the news yesterday. This lady and her daughter, they just came out of their car, and immediately a trailer landed on that car. Just seconds after, coming out of their car. So headlines here from the Standard, the hand of God. They're asking, mother, baby, escape a crash. So Anne Rima is lucky to be alive. On Saturday, she was driving to a supermarket in Syokimau, Machakos with her baby and had to stop briefly to check on the child. As she parked, she saw a truck carrying, towards her car, and she jumped out holding onto her baby. The container landed on the vehicle and flattened it. Can you believe that? Thank God they are alive and they're safe. And of course, there's a lady that had a child a few months ago, probably a month ago, and the post-mortem, she had 5 children. So post-mortem exam found a fatal heart condition that affects women after delivery as the cause of Evelyn Namukula's death, and pathologists ruled out blood clots but concluded her heart was enlarged. So she'd had 5 children at a go, and she died the other day. And so apparently 2 of her kids are now has since died, and there were questions being raised on what could have been the cause of her death. But now, yes, that has been found to be what caused her death. And so that is that. We will look at some of those news and more in-depth And so right now, I'd like to take a very short break. And when I come back, we will look at more news and more stories from the newspapers and the latest in what is happening in Africa this morning. Remember, when Dr. Matanga joins me later, we'll be talking about the role of judiciary in governance and also the politics of corruption in Kenya. And in Diaspora Dispatches, we'll be looking at what has happened to African Union role in conflict resolution in Africa. And we'll be paying special attention to Cameroon, especially the Anglophone crisis in the southern part of Cameroon. And of course, Libya. Libya has been on the headlines lately, and there's been a crisis there right now. And we see what the AU is doing about that. Remember, immediately our president of Egypt was elected, the AU chair. He said that on top of his agenda, he will have a meeting, a crisis meeting on Libya. It was supposed to happen in July. So I think it has been overtaken by a ton of events, what the crisis that is happening right now in Libya. And so they have not said much as it is right now. So it will be interesting to see and wait and see the AU, what they'll say. And of course, the meeting that they'll be having in July. And so far, how have they handled the AU? How have they handled the crisis? Because it's been there since 2011 after the ousting of Gaddafi. And so what has AU done so far, and what has been its role? I remember there's a special envoy in AU when that crisis came up, and so we look at that into depth, and of course what is happening right now in Cameroon. So I will take a very short break, and don't go too far. Good Morning Africa will be coming to you right in a short bit. And Agwad Awan, thank you so much for watching this morning. And you're saying Marshal General Omar al-Bashir days are just numbered and the people of all Sudan must take over the country. And Bismarck, you're saying Ramson was involved in the kidnapping saga in Uganda. Yes, indeed, and they had to pay $50,000 US dollars and things like that. So keep writing to us, and as you write to us, please let us know where you're watching us from this morning. Dr. David Matsanga will be joining me shortly. But right now, let me take a very short break, and please don't go too far. Good Morning Africa. We'll be right back.
To be here today to participate with my brothers and sisters in this very important forum when we are reflecting and thinking about our country. When we are thinking about our country, we are thinking about ourselves, our people at home, and the generations to come. Mine is to assure you that we are doing our best as far as investigations are concerned. But at the same time, we do have quite a number of challenges, though they have not reached a point of dispiriting us, or rather demotivating us. We are trying to say that I wish everybody in this war of corruption may come on board. One thing I can say is, even before we go for some investigations outside there, some of the frustrations which really pull us down is some of the strange orders that we receive. Other than even starting the investigation, we are stopped even before we record a statement from somebody who you know very well are stolen from Kenyans. You know very well, and all Kenyans know, we are pursuing this person, and it's not something we're imagining. We all know, and we cannot lie to ourselves, surely, and everything can show. But we are stopped even before questioning that person. And when we receive some of those orders, like another one which I received just the other day, I was not even at the stage of even pursuing that person whatsoever. Then when the orders came, I read them very well. Do not use the door to go and arrest Mr. Hay. Then I said, okay, why is this preemptive? Then I said, fine, I consulted my regular advisors, they are here. And then I said, no, through my information, there is a window. If I cannot use the door to go and take Mr. Hay,
Thank you so much and welcome back. This is Good Morning Africa, and the first half an hour of the show I was bringing you the latest in the African continent, the African news. But right now I'm joined by none other than Dr. David Matsanga. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning, Miriam. Welcome back.
Thank you so much.
I kept the fort tight and well, I'm back here.
Much appreciated.
Yes, and you took off some days.
Yes, and
which was very good.
Yes,
to keep your brain. For me, I kept on working 24 hours here on the radio and back. But
you're also working on the radio.
Yes,
very good.
My radio broadcasts from early 6 o'clock to 8.
Okay,
I'm always up by 4, so I prepare my notes and I go to the radio. And that's what I want to do as a retirement benefit for myself.
Good.
To be able to talk, to be able to educate Africa, to be able to bring out issues that derail Africa. And I'm ready for answers. I take that question and answer session on the radio.
Okay.
I ask people to ask me any questions on Africa, and they do. In the morning, you can be very shocked that I have a very big audience from United States, in Seattle, in Houston, in Minneapolis, in UK, in Europe. People are asking questions. They want to know about so many things in Africa. And thank you very much for the great African news analysis.
Thank you.
I was listening to you while I was waiting for my turn to queue in, and I'm here now. Let me straight away start with the situation that is in Kenya. The judiciary and the politics of corruption and graft. Those are the two things that are taking shape in Kenya. It is very sad that President Uhuru Kenyatta cannot put a stop to this. It is also sad that His Excellency the President is not able, has already told people that enough is enough. But it seems that each side is digging in, especially the rivalry between Raila Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto. This rivalry is picking up, and the momentum is coming up to 2007. Those days when you saw the heat of words, the type of words that were being sent, the words that were being sent from each side. You can see the rivalry, those days when people's cases were in the ICC. This is the type of language that is coming up in Kenya now. And yet we have a very big obstacle. The president's speech, I know you left, you must have had it from home, you must have been a bit low. We expected some reaction, but the president took a very diplomatic and educative, intelligent way of saying, if you are caught dipping your hand in the taxpayers' money, and you are taken to court, don't ever come near. You leave the flag at the nearest police station and go away. Sort your matter out. That is the essence of the president's speech. And the people who have not understood, who wanted him to behave like the Pharisees and the scribes. I was one of those Pharisees and scribes who wanted him, kill him.
To sack some people.
Kill them, kill them.
But a lot of Kenyans are very disappointed.
They are, but I want to assure these Kenyans that the president acts as a head of state. The president knows who has stolen. Because he has intelligence reports. I have worked in the president's office before. I know how we file intelligence reports. We don't just talk like that. We file intelligence reports. Intelligence reports indicate the president knows who has stolen. He knows. And those who know they have stolen should not think they are free. They will not be free. Because the president has the intelligence. And therefore, it is up to you. What the president is doing is giving them time to see whether they can come out and say, I'm sorry. Whether the courts, whether people can go to national television and say, I did not steal. Because we have seen people on national television telling us different stories. I stole, this is not mine, this is now mine, that is mine. Then we go and say, this is now not mine, now this is the one, I'm being harassed. The president was very tactical, and he did deliver a tactical speech, that left many Kenyans not happy. But later on, we have explained the situation. It is cooled down. Let's come back to the politics of corruption and graft. It is embedded in the court. You can ask me anything about it. I'll tell you. The president said, you go to court. I just want to ask you, Mr. President, which court? Which court?
Maraga's court.
Which court are Kenyans going to go to?
Maraga's court.
This court is already done. There is Mr. Ogoti. If you tell me Mr. Ogoti is the Chief Justice, if you gave Mr. Ogoti the role of a Chief Justice, if he fitted in the age bracket, he would sentence people to jail. But this court of Maraga, forget it. Forget. I have no problem with Maraga, personally. I have not found something that personally I can pin him down. I don't know how the president expects us to fight Maraga when he's telling us that the media should not say what they should say. So there is something that is not very, very comfortable, which is making everybody not comfortable. But on all this is done, is finished, is brought down, guess what will happen? Can I tell you?
What will happen?
The tsunami will come.
Not a cyclone?
Oh, it's not a cyclone.
A tsunami.
The one coming, the people who are mentioned. Let me ask Kenyans, surely, doesn't this country have a unit that does due diligence to any group that is taking these billions of shillings? Does a country of this nature, a best well-organized, educated country, it has no due diligence unit? If you go behind the scenes to look at the company CMD Ravenna, my God, my God, my God, I have said my God 4 times, my God, you close the eye. You can't give this company even 1 shilling to keep. If there is due diligence done on this company, not even 1 shilling.
It has a lot of scandals from the past.
Forget about scandals. Yes. Look at the mafia links this company has. I'm an open man, I'm sorry. The mafia links. It is very difficult to return, to reclaim this money from this company, CMD Ravenna. It's very important Kenyans know it. Iyo pesa tumepoteza, iyo imeenda. This company, you see, is very difficult to charge it even in court. There are some countries that don't want to hear that name. Follow the history of this company, how it was formed. Have you ever heard of the Red Brigade? Do you know the Red Brigade? How many of you younger people talk sharp? Do you know the Red Brigade in Italy? That assassinated Prime Minister Aldo Moro. The younger men talk right, pose around in Nairobi that they know anything. Go back, go and dig back. Look at this company. Who are the main funders and the main supporters of this company in Italy? Then you come and dump your money with it. Wagwan. Do you really know what to do in this 21st century? It is very shameful that a state of this nature occurs and happens while we are watching. Some of us can do voluntary checks. Voluntary checks for you. If Kenya fears to pay people to do due diligence on companies, we can do voluntary checks for this company, for this country. We can do it. This company in Europe, nobody can give them even half a river to build a dam. Why did it come to build dams here? Look at its background. It's a very dangerous background. You wouldn't like to touch a company where you are going to end up. It could even assassinate you. Why did we give this company this type of money? That's my question. Who is this responsible for surrendering this money? Was there a due diligence? Show me a risk analysis report, risk assessment report. Each company in trading in the world where people have gone to school like us, we get a risk assessment report of any company in the world. In London, I can get it for you. There is an agency that will get it for me within 1 minute. In London. That's how I got to Ocampo. That is how I fixed ICC. That is what I brought down ICC. The Americans saw my facts against their facts. They are finished. I'm telling you now.
And also, when we're still talking about this company, and it is very interesting that I don't know if the Italian government has commented on this. Anyhow, I've not heard them say anything.
They would never comment.
But this money, it was a loan from Italy. Can you believe that?
My friend.
So what is the connection here?
The loan from where?
From Italy, and the Italian government has been very quiet on this matter.
It talks. You check any links in the Vatican. I started dealing with the Vatican as far as 1998. Where were you? 1998. When I was trying to release Aboke girls who had been kidnapped by the Lord Resistance Army. Myself, Amama Babazi, Dr. Obita, myself, and others. That's when I started dealing with the Pope. The late Pope who was there. I know everything. I have people in who can check for you. If someone can tell you that, you gave which company? I was shocked. I had a shocker. It increased my life spanner. It went out. I lost some. More sugar came into me. Luckily enough, I don't have the sugar. God, thank you. High blood pressure came. When I was told about this company, how did the people, the government, come to settle on this company? That's all I'm asking. Who was responsible for authorizing for this company to get that money? Who gave them the money? Who authorized the last money? Did they do a due diligence? Did they do a risk assessment? That some cowboys arrive from Italy, grab our money, use bank accounts and a guarantee cards and a guarantee letters. Stupid. Summary, I've said it. Stupid. I'm sorry, Miriam. I don't know.
No, it's okay. One of Kenyan here, Daniel Kibani, is also asking the same question. He's saying, Doctor, but what is wrong with Kenya? Why do we give our project to overseas companies? Is Kenya and Africa not strong? Do they not have strong enough companies that can give all tenders, which are given to China, Italy, and other abroad countries? That is what I'm gathering from what Daniel Kimani is asking. He's wondering, do we not have people in Africa who can do the same?
If you had to do a due diligence, there are companies in Africa that can build dams.
Have the capability to do
They have the capability to do better, and they are traceable. You can trace them. You can go back. They don't have a mafia background. Wow. This is serious.
But this also speaks to who we are as a people in Africa. We really never trust in our own things.
How can you trust a black man?
What is wrong with
How?
a black man?
You look at me. Am I trusted here? Whenever I talk here, have you seen the type of comments that lie on me on my stomach?
It's like we have
because I am a black man who also struggled to study the same things that the English people were studying in the same university.
But because you're black, it's a problem.
Because I'm black, someone comes here to say, where is his paper? You know, the first they yet none of them can beat me in an interview. I'm telling you, hatred. There's a lot of hatred in this country and in Africa. You come, they don't recognize you. Even when you are giving a lecture in among African countries, first, they don't, people are writing their own notes when a black man is giving a lecture. Then when they see Professor Wolf standing up, what? Everybody now takes attention. You saw what they did to President Uhuru Kenyatta in Namibia. That's the mindset of a black person. Ministers work without notebooks. Mr. President, is that our problem? Was it our problem? Surely people who have gone to school with PhDs go to a meeting without notebooks. Are these the people that you think they impress? They impress you that they are able to do it. I tell you, if I did not woken up, stood up, and walked into that egg, everybody had left these young men to rot there. They wanted them to rot. Even some of them wanted to kill me. Mama, they are here.
They were in parliament.
Mama, they are here. Let me also look Malema's language. Mama, even those who wanted to kill you, they are here. You are giving them money and jobs now. They are here in this government. Some of them who did not want me to even file an application to remove these two gentlemen whom they are running around every time clapping. They are here. They are here. They are in court, in that court. I can name you 3 people in that court now who wrote this report that fixed these people. Do you want me to name it? If you try me, I will do it. Challenge me. Where is Justice Majanja? Where is Kegoro? Where are they? Where is Justice Waki? They are here. They are in court. They are now even presiding, slaughtering more people. They are sending more people to committee. These are the people who plotted, who sat down and wrote the dossier, Kegoro, Waki, Majanja. These are here. They are here. Give me a signal. I've been keeping too much, and the people are walking around when they did not want these people to be alive. Nobody wanted Uhuru Kenyatta to be alive. Nobody wanted Ruto to be alive. Nobody wanted Mudhaura to be alive. Nobody wanted the Ocampo 6 ever. They are here. And they go around here. Oh, we have, so I'm CS, I'm what? What? They are here. Let me tell you, come close it if you want. I'll go home. They are here. These people wanted these guys detained, killed. Now they have masqueraded. They have come back as Pharisees. They have come back as scribes. They are here. I've named the 3. Waki, Majanja, and Kegoro. What are they doing today? They are here. Did they want Uhuru Kenyatta to be ever alive? You mean Justice Waki doesn't know the envelope? Doesn't he know how he wrote the envelope? Doesn't he know? They are here. Then when you are dying, they come, oh, you are very nice. The Ugandan man, you are very good. You stood at the back. No. Tell me now. Time has come to tell these people off. If you think I'll keep quiet, it is better I'm here. But when I'm out today, it is going to be better every day. They are here. And I'm telling you the truth. They are here. Those who fixed Uhuru are here. Those who fixed Ruto are here. We haven't started yet. Give us a signal. And then you want to make their government collapse. They are here. Those who wanted me dead. Those who wanted Ocampo to take me, to lock me. By now I would have served the sentence and I will be out. I would be doing good manners in prison for 2.5 years. In Britain, written another good book. They are here. Some have gone. Some are here. You think Waki doesn't know the names of the people he wrote? You think Justice Waki does not know the names of people that he wrote on the list? Jamin, Mwache, if you want this country to be happy, come and throw out this old vomit. Go to the BBI. Go to that BBI and tell the people that it is true. It is me, Justice Waki, who wrote the names of the Campo 6 and handed over the envelope to a man called that man whom God should permanently lock. Why doesn't Justice Waki do that? He's in court. He's sentencing people. He's sentencing more. He has no remorse for having quietly the security at night, sat down to collect names of the people he never wanted. With a cabal, a group of mafios, mafia. I know them now. They are here. When you touch the court, they come for you. They are here. Have you seen what Maraga is doing in court? President Uhuru Kenyatta is telling us we go to court. People go to court. Which court? This court of Mr. Maraga is finished. 6 judges eating each other. 6 judges eating each other. 1 judge is buying houses. Specialist woman on house looking for loans to buy property. What bewitched Kenyans in property? Kenyans want house. Every Kenyan, oh, are you building apartment? I'm building apartment. Every weekend I'm going to see my apartment being built. Ooh, theft. Pesa ya umma. Munaiba, munachukua kwa ma apartments. Let me sleep on the streets of Nairobi. They are here. Today I've spoken in my mind. Africa needs someone to speak up. This court of Maraga is, Mr. President, there is nothing we are going to do. I am not a vigilante. No. No, I'm an intellectual. Actually, a serious intellectual. Whose capability nobody can challenge. Bring an exam, we do it. Boniface Mwangi might be a vigilante because he carries pigs and takes pigs to parliament, but not Masanga. I'm an intellectual who can investigate seriously. Look at the damage what I've found about this CMD Ravenna cannot be found by Boniface Mwangi. So, hapo mjue nyeni. You can't give this company 1 shilling. How did we give them 21 billion in the first place? Someone must go down.
Somebody has to be answerable to that.
Let me tell you, to summarize the whole Kenyan scenario, the judiciary helps in the governance. But this judiciary is very, 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 very bad. You hear me? 13 minutes past 12. I've taken some 13 minutes from my own time. Yes. I want to leave you with 1 word before you read the messages.
Yes.
1 word. Jesus said, you know, this is the time of Lent. For us Christians, look at the reflection over 2,000 years ago. When this young man who grew faster, in a few months he was old, left us with a legacy that we follow. But the Bible says, if you want to find the truth, you want to count the sheep, strike the shepherd. If you want to find the truth, Mr. President, strike the shepherd. I leave it to you. You want to finish corruption in the court of Maraga, strike the shepherd. The sheep will, you know, when you strike the shepherd, what happens to the sheep?
Will they scatter?
A child, you talked now. The Holy Spirit is in the house.
Is it now?
The Holy Spirit is in the house, hallelujah. Strike the shepherd in Africa. Enough is enough. If you want to finish, bring Kenya to where it is, I'm giving you wisdom. Strike the shepherd, the sheep will scatter. And then you'll count how many you have lost. But this policy of us running up and down, that's why you see Raila is complaining, Ruto is complaining, another one is complaining. Somalia, we have a problem. Where's the story of Somalia? Can I shock you again? Story of Somalia. Wapi story of Somalia? Someone analyzed it very well. This one, what does it say? The inside what?
The inside Somalia-Kenya maritime border dispute.
I want it to be on record. 60 months ago, when Total Oil packed its goods, packed its equipment from South Sudan, what did I say? It packed and crossed over. Total Oil said they have nothing, they have wound up their activities in South Sudan. And listen to me carefully, Kenyans and the world. I might not be the person who should be talking, but I'm talking. It's the wisdom of God that I'm talking today. He has told me to say it. I said the moment one country moves into, starts doing business in Somalia, we are done. We are done what? Cooked. Some people were very annoyed with me. Somewhere, they are here. Those, they are here. They are within the system. They got annoyed with me. They are here. They said, oh, this Ugandan man, oh, this. One person calls me, that stupid man. There's a lady here who calls me stupid man. But I will find you. I'm stupid. Surely? Surely? A man who has gone to a university like yours, and not in Africa, but in where you went, where you paid money to go with a scholarship. I didn't pay, I studied there. And you call him stupid? And I said, as long as this country moves into Kenya, we are done. The country moved into Somalia, and listen carefully, into Somalia. The first thing that happened, Somalia and UAE, United Arab Emirates, closed ranks. UN itself started fighting the Somali government, and the Somali government started chasing diplomats of UN.
Yes.
Walaya Mungu. Walaya Mungu.
It happened earlier this year.
That is the time I told people there is one country that has moved into Somalia. Uganda and Kenya have to be careful. Those handlers of the foreign policy and the security policy must be careful. And you people in these two countries, listen to me. We have troops there. We have our children there. We have our brothers, sisters there. Listen to this man carefully and listen to me today. God has said I should talk. You are in big trouble. If you don't tell off this country, it has now seen the war is ending. What does it want? A wage between Kenya and The country paid all legal fees. The country encouraged Somalia to go to court. The country looked after bed and breakfast, sausage, what, that, for all these lawyers. The country paid a legal bill. What is that country, Wagwan? The company draws money from a certain capital in Europe on an account of George Soros, which is used as a flagship of external intelligence networks to pay the country. Somalia has no bank. How can Somalia defeat us? It doesn't foreign currency. That country has dismembered so many African countries. Blood is flowing in Libya today. Why is it flowing in Libya today, Wagwan? Tell me, you people. And then you say you are all right. You are not all right. This thing here, the analysis here, this guy has done it. I'm telling you behind the scenes, until you get who paid that money, that forces Somalia, and some brokers who went to take Somalia, who paid on ICJ, International Court of Justice, then you will have a solution for this conflict. You will understand it and know it might not end the way we want. This case in the ICJ, believe me or not, again, take note on this date, we have no case there. Sorry. Let's not waste taxpayers' money that there is a case there. Who was the judge? Who was the judge of ICJ? Mm-hmm. Can I tell you, Miriam, because there are certain things eating you. You want to ask, who was this judge? Mm-hmm. It's a French judge.
Because initially Kenya and Somalia had agreed on an out-of-court settlement. All of a sudden,
someone pulled them and said, don't pay. Mm-hmm. Come. And for me, what has made me not to be rich is to be giving people information free. Because I am born that way. I am just like the other man they crucified. I'm on the way. Look at that. Who? The judge, a French judge, the deputy was promoted by the presiding judge. He left, he brought the deputy. Who is the deputy in the ICJ? He's a Somali. You tell me a monkey will say the forest has to go down. No, tell me. You are from Ugenya. Is it Ugenya? You are from Game.
I'm neighbors there.
You are from Game.
Yes.
The best people who have their sharp minds, they talk their minds out. Talk, tell me.
Yes.
If a monkey will say cut the forest?
It's impossible.
A monkey will say, this Somali judge, presiding judge is going to say, it is, will you have a case? Muse, let people not lie you here. Let's use other methods. Bring Somalis on table. We are helping them to pacify their country. Mm-hmm. Because we don't want to be with a neighbor who has terrorists.
We don't want to be enemies with that.
Enemies. Mm-hmm. Let's just bring ourselves on table. This was God-given waters. Mm-hmm. Let's bring an out of court. Said, don't go to that court because there is nothing there. They should not waste even government money. Mm-hmm. That they are flying there. People spoiled this case a long time ago. What are you? Because of people are hungry for money. What are you? They spoiled this case. We lost the first segment. You think you'll get the second one? Look at international rulings, how they go. In the case of Uhuru Kenyatta versus the chief prosecutor. The chief prosecutor came back and said he needs 1 month to come back whether to file a case or no case. The judges said no. No, they ruled out. They said you had to tell us now or no. Because that's an international legal precedent. It's a precedent set. They said no way. You can't tell us you need 1 month to go and collect what you have not told us. Until Fatou Bensouda's mouth was wide dry. Because we had finished her. She had nothing. She had nothing. The only liar she relied on was a liar. And she admitted she was a liar. The guy was a liar. So what can you hold Matsanga for? When Matsanga said to the world that this witness OTP4 was a liar. And they arrested me because I said he was a liar. Later on they said you don't have any case with us. Because I had finished them. That was the beginning of the case. When you say Professor have him open in case number 2 of Ruto, number 1 of Ruto, Professor have him open claims to have come to this country and landed a Muzungu, more so a French who eats frogs, came and land. I'm sorry, is it bad? Frogs are very good delicacy. You said so? You eat them?
In some Asian countries.
Oh, no, not you. Okay. Then he came here and said, oh, I ran the Kikuyu and the Kalenjin in 6 months. I went to South Africa, brought the record of Professor Have him open. It is me who flew to South Africa, brought that evidence, filed an application in court. It is there. And I said, this professor, I want the court to tell me whether you did what we call a due diligence. That word only finished the court. Did you hear the chief prosecutor talk about in the network? Did you hear it? That was the end of the case. I finished Professor Have him open. A French operative, a man who operates DSGE, external operator, who was jailed for 7 years in South Africa, arms for cash scandal with Zuma. Have you seen that? That's what we call investigative journalism. I went to South Africa, got all this. South African government, the French government asked Zuma to remove he's one of the problem now. He's on trial in the Commission of Inquiry. That's one of them coming up. You know Zuma's personal assistant was locked for 7 years. Together with Professor Have him open. But the French government, being a superpower, asked for Have him open to leave, to be excused. So this information was not before the court of ICC. And here is someone bringing Professor Have him open to be a technical witness. My foot. I finished the bagger. The bagger was finished, man. I presented the evidence. The bagger went down. The prosecutor asked the court to call me, to declare me a vexatious, isn't it? That's correct English.
It is.
Vexatious litigant. The court said no. They would not declare Dr. Matsanga a vexatious litigant, but they would tell Dr. Matsanga to tone his language. Because the type of English I was writing, you need a dictionary. And most of these judges come from Eastern Europe, where English was like a distance to Venice. They asked me to tone down my Shakespearean English. That's all. I have the judgment rulings here. I can show them to you. I have stood test of time. Thank you very much. You can ask any questions now. Or lead me to another segment.
Let's just go and see what happened to the role of the AU in conflict resolution in Africa, because as it is now, it is around 12:30 East African time, so we have just about half an hour to look at the diaspora dispatches. What do you think?
I want to be very honest. Before I answer that, I told you that these things will be very bad. Justice Lesit lifted a ban on Mr. Obado.
I saw that in the morning, just before I came here.
Can you believe that what we are just talking about now is here? Oh, Jesus.
He can now access the scene of crime in Homa Bay.
Yes. So now why is the case there? Why is Ayamo in industrial area? Leave them also to access the scene of that. Have you seen the courts we have? And the President Uhuru Kenyatta tells the people that we go to court. Let the people go to court. Which court?
Maybe he's still...
That girl has died for nothing. Can I tell you the truth? It's gone. Mr. Obado can fly with his helicopter and go and do some service there.
Some ceremonial service.
Service, yes.
Cleansing. Oh,
yeah.
Well, there's still allegations, but there it is.
There's no, is there an allegation?
Because initially it was restricted.
What was it? Why in the first place did she restrict? Did she restrict? Why was he restricting the lady and the gentleman from going to that place?
It was necessary to do that.
Why?
And what has changed since then? So now Obado has been allowed to his freedom to move freely in Homa Bay. Interesting times.
He can fly, he can even go, and in fact, very soon all the witnesses might go down.
They've allowed him his passport back?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you imagine? So that's the court we have. Those are the defense lawyers we have. I'm sorry, let's switch on to international news, and we shall be touching on... Read for me the topic.
What happened to the role of AU in conflict resolution in Africa? And just before that, John Mann, thank you so much for writing to us this afternoon. And you're saying Africa has problems in judiciary. If that you listen to Maze Nnamdi Kanu on 6th of this month, you're saying you will know that Africa has problems. I didn't listen to that. Maybe I'll take a look at it.
I did.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's very good. And Emmanuel is saying black African mindset against Africa is too bad. May God deliver us from witchcraft. I think he's just responding to the question that Daniel Kimani was asking. Why is it that we have to contract a lot of this company from overseas and you're not able to get some African companies that are actually able to, and have the capabilities to undertake some of these tenders that we give to and works, construction works especially, we give to outsiders outside of Africa. And so he thinks that we don't trust our own. Yes, indeed. And we, So we look at the role of the AU in the conflict, and with very special attention to the Cameroon and what has AU done so far. Remember, the AU Charter specifically committed the AU to intervene in civil wars within member states and when there are clear indications of human rights abuses. Now, the AU's right of intervention derives from the ideal of Africa, Pan-Africanism, and the principle of non-indifference. Those principles stipulate that African countries can no longer remain indifferent to the conflict and suffering that occurs in their neighborhoods, and that African countries have the primary responsibility for establishing and maintaining the peace and security architecture on the continent. So the AU says that they can no longer be indifferent to the conflict and suffering that occurs in some of the neighborhoods, and that African countries have the primary responsibility of establishing and maintaining the peace. But so far, when we look at the AU and its role in Africa and how it's been able to handle some of these cases in Africa, has it really played its complete role in terms of not sitting on the fence when some human rights have been abused?
First of all, the role of the AU must change. The role of AU changing from a situation where you watch Cameroon and the Cameroonians dying, going down every day, then you don't bring them on top of the agenda. It's very silly. That's one. Two, if you watch the conflict that is raging in Libya, what role has AU played? The AU has watched UN take over all decisions in the question of Cameroon, Libya. If you look at what is happening in Sudan, Khartoum now, the same happens. The AU has not, is not visible. It is either mixed up in Africa, in the United Nations missions, but it has no front role that it plays to make sure that this conflict don't surface. So, in short, the AU is captured, is being told don't do the things that are supposed to be done. On the question of Cameroon, the AU has never struggled even to make sure that Cameroonian side is heard in the AU itself, the other side of Amazonia. It hasn't.
And we speaking about Amazonia, and probably what are some of the measures the AU should do in terms of bringing Paul Biya's government into to be answerable to some of these atrocities taking place? Could sanctions work? And if not, and if the sanctions cannot work, and could revoking of membership be another way of trying to bring the presidency of Paul Biya to be answerable to what is happening? Should they AUs put sanctions on Cameroon? If not, can revoking of membership of Cameroon from the AU be one of the reasons they can put pressure on Paul Biya to end some of these problems that the Southern Cameroonians are experiencing?
First of all, we would like to make sure that a situation changes, and that situation must change by sanctioning and putting sanctions on countries that violate the human rights in Africa. We only go, yesterday you might have been at home or you were still traveling. I was traveling. You would have listened to what I was saying in the evening. A very interesting scenario. Elections in Africa. I had a huge number of viewership. Over 110 per second. Huge. AU runs where the elections are. Already now they have sent people to Malawi. But they don't send people where human rights are being abused. They have not sent any mission into Cameroon to find out why in Cameroon something is wrong. Nobody has done that. Nobody is doing that. But they are busy running South Africa advanced team. This AU is a holiday camping.
Yes, and of course the AU has been seen to be largely quiet when it comes to what is happening right now in Cameroon. It has chosen to be very quiet from the reports that we've been receiving from Cameroon. AU has not been very vocal in speaking against Mr. Paul Biya.
It hasn't. In fact, in any case, it looks like there is a Cameroonian situation where Cameroon has told AU that please keep a blind eye as we damage until we tell you that we have finished with them, or until we tell you we have killed all of them, then you can come up and talk.
Okay.
That's what the AU is doing.
Yes, and one of our viewers here, Koang Paul, thank you so much for writing to us. You're saying, can the AU tell the people in Africa one single thing that it has got right since it changed the name from OAU to AU? AU is failed. It's a failed organization.
It's a failed.
Because initially OAU had certain constraints, and it had to respect sovereignty of the member states. It could not intervene, but after the ratification and the renaming to AU, it sort of gave AU more power. You could intervene if there are clear indications of human rights violations. So AU actually has the power to intervene in situations that it can, but it has refused to do that.
It has. It has refused. The question of Cameroon, of Amazonia, this is a very big thing that touches the entire Africa. There is nobody who has gone to the African Union. We have asked them, every meeting that takes place, the Peace and Security Committee has not done it. They have not brought the abuses that are being committed in Amazonia. The people in Amazonia are dying. The people are being killed. Millions are dying as we speak today. They are fleeing.
Amazonians contribute, they make up to 20% of Cameroon's GDP. Population.
Yes.
And they're 23 million in numbers. So these are not just people you can wish away. The
AU has wished them away. He has simply told them they are nothing. He has simply said they can die. Has the AU played any role in Africa where they can resolve conflict? No.
And not just the AU, even the UN have been unable to take drastic action in being called for by many people of whatever is happening now in Amazonia.
At least in Africa.
There seems to be a conspiracy. Even the UN has been very slow in taking action when it comes to what is happening in Amazonia.
You know what? I don't know why, if Amazonia one day gets independence, I would advise Amazonians not to join the AU. It's not useful. That's the truth. It's not useful. Don't join. If I were an African country, I don't join AU.
Can AU?
I choose my friends. Because AU today is captured. It's a captured state. It's a captured institution. It does what the superpowers want to do. The AU today cannot tell Libyan Khalifa Haftar not to take over Tripoli. I want to ask one question to my fellow Africans. Where is Mr. Haftar getting in the planes that are bombing Tripoli?
The bombs.
If it is not superpowers from Egypt, United Arab Emirates, and France,
Russian name.
Who has those planes? Who has those planes? Who is able to come and go live in Libya and defend the Air Force from coming to hit you? It must be these superpowers. Now, where is the AU to make a red flag here? Where is the AU? Where is African Union? It should raise a red flag to tell the people that we have had enough. The people dying in Libya, the people dying in Cameroon, this is too much. We can't hold it anymore.
And Collins, Ma, you're saying AU is sponsored by France. Tell me, why wouldn't they keep quiet while Amazonia are dying? That is one of our viewers. And of course, Kwang Paul, you're saying South Sudan war. What did AU do? So AU in places where it has been required to come and show leadership in the continent, it has.
What has it done?
It has failed.
Today there is a fight in Khartoum. Our correspondent in Khartoum is on standby, waiting to correspond the latest. Dr. Ali Mohta is right in Khartoum. The whole night, I think you must have seen me on Facebook, bringing this thing live from Khartoum.
Things like
because he woke me up to say, you can't miss this. We have 2 million people now in Khartoum
out in the street,
standing.
Yes, at the palace.
At the palace. They were dancing the whole night for. I had to sleep off, switch off. I told Dr. Muhammad Ali Muhtar that let's sleep. This is live music playing for the president. The president cannot escape. He's already surrounded.
Time is up. Time is up.
AU, where are we? AU, when it comes to African Union, Cameroon, where are we? AU, when it comes to Biafra, where are we? AU, when it comes to South Cameroon,
South Sudan.
South Sudan, where are you? AU has only acted in Somalia, AMISOM. And why it acted in Somalia is because of the resilience of the Ugandan troops. You remember? We are the first people to enter that territory. Give us a credit, Ugandans. Hallelujah. Kudos. We entered the territory of Somalia.
Kenyans, we were forced into it after the
No, Kenyans, by international obligation, they were told, frontline states.
Because we share the
border. Yes. They were told. But Kenyans would have gone in together. Had we gone in all together without these restrictions of AU and UN, Somalia would have not had this Al-Qaeda, the current ISIS operatives who kill us, who maim us, who destroy these countries one by one on each day. Because it would have changed. Scenario would have changed. But because of the AU decisions, if you look at what is going on in Sudan now, those are live pictures coming from last night. Very many, I couldn't believe what was going on in the world. I felt maybe something has gone wrong. Live pictures coming all the way from South Sudan.
But also with that, when you look at, just going back to the Amazonian, what is happening right now, whatever kind of human rights abuse that is happening right now in Amazonia, really, AU, if they were to follow their charter very clearly, then actually it's possible they can revoke the membership of Cameroon from its member states. But why has it not done? Why has it not taken any measures? Because whatever is happening actually warrants that.
You know what? It cannot happen because they are controlled by the master. If you do something against what the master has said, they will not get funding. AU will not have funding. So we come back to square zero.
To square zero. So why do we still have need to keep AU, as one of the viewers now is asking, if it's not really leaving to its mandate?
Do you know what?
The AU?
My dear brothers from Amazonia, when time comes and you get this freedom, utilize it effectively. Don't enter African Union. As long as that man from Chad is there, by the time maybe this year we shall have. These are soldiers, the pictures that you are seeing now. Soldiers are being carried shoulder high, colonels, brigadiers, for having, yesterday's demonstration in
Sudan.
In Sudan. The soldiers were dancing also.
Yeah, and they're protecting the people.
Yes.
On Saturday, there's a beast of
there's nobody taking the gun, shooting each other, no.
And the U.S. came out and commended, actually, the peaceful, the way
of course, they have sponsored it.
And
I told you, from the time Macron traveled to Jamena, Africans fear to be told the truth.
Yes.
Let me say the truth here. From the time Macron went to Jamena, Chad, struck a deal with Idris. Idris is one of the most corrupt presidents.
Chadian president.
Yes, the Chadian president, Idris Deby. Very corrupt. In fact, the United States is waiting to arrest him.
He has a warrant.
If he goes
yes.
to United States and another Ugandan man, they are needed there, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. They have to answer several charges there. You didn't know?
I know.
We have no Minister of Foreign Affairs now.
Yes.
Honestly, he can't go to the General Assembly.
Sam Kutesa.
Yeah, he can't go there. We can't risk him going there because he might not come back.
So, okay.
He might come back in jail.
Or never.
No, it is not for life.
Yes.
Corruption is not for life.
Yes. A few years.
The other guy is serving his term and said, yes, I went to bribe. And I bribed, so they tapped their phones.
Him and his wife.
And the wife, look, it's an embarrassment. I can't be stealing together with Bridget. At least let Bridget be out of it. My baby. My baby, stay out.
But if she's been...
I can steal alone. You can insult me, but you don't insult my wife.
But see, if,
my child.
If the wife has been enjoying the proceeds of corruption, then she's part of it now.
No, then what type of marriage is that?
A partnership.
Where all of... Bring it on later on. Ma'am, can you bring partnership? How far can partnership go? Do you go? Have you seen... I want to ask you people, viewers, do you go to the grave with your wife? How many people in this world have been buried, even if they die together with the wife? They buried in two separate graves. I have never seen it in Europe. I've never seen it in African culture. So why do you involve your wife in stealing? For us, we have a habit as Ugandans. Our culture forbids our wives to walk naked, to lack food in the house, to lack every essential. Yeah, look at me again.
Well, Kutesa stole with his wife. So.
So
he's a Ugandan foreign affairs.
The president of Chad, Idris Deby, is a thief by American standards. He received $2 million.
And it's on record.
To go and pay for oil deals. Now, Macron arrived in Jamena, brought in billions and millions of dollars, which was passed on to Sudanese civil society to buy water, to buy food, to give transport. If you can see the way people were coming yesterday, this is a country that it says it has no bread. But they are able to buy a lot to feed those people. Water was being brought on trucks and trucks. The money all the way from Jamena through Davao into Khartoum. All doctors, all lawyers, everything.
Everybody's in the streets.
Was paid. He's a commission agent, a kickbacker. There's a president who is kickbacks. Now, as we see there, Khartoum is burning.
AU hasn't said nothing.
AU hasn't, because they know they were in the same concert. The AU chairperson,
just the other day,
the AU chairperson is from Chad. Will he annoy his man? And you saw, because I'm speaking the right thing at the right time, and it will exonerate me. I warn the people that Sudan, you know, I want to be on record, viewers. When I was in Sudan, I stated to Bashir, we were seated on a dining table together. I had gone there to address the conference of Chief Justices of Africa. At the palace, Bashir told me we are reconstructing Khartoum. And the French company and the French are helping us. I looked at him like this. I said, Your Excellency, you said what? My fork almost fell down. And I just said, Your Excellency, did you know that the French are the same people who took you to court on the ICC matter. Do you know that they pay 70% of the ICC money for judges, for porters, for investigators? Who pays? France. Huh? His Excellency had to call the Minister for Security to come and listen to our story. We pulled chairs. I was seen by Dr. Ojwang, the man who came here, you know him. Dr. Ojwang of Nadarin University.
Dean of Law of Nadarin University, yes.
I was pulled from the crowd to sit with the president. And I told you, this is you have brought a regime change here. This is the words I said, I swear. The regime change in Khartoum now.
It's coming, it's there. It has arrived.
It is not coming.
It has arrived.
It is over. Yes, because
it's just a matter of time now.
You are not going to kill 2 million people who have surrounded the palace. No. And this should teach other African countries.
A very good lesson.
Good lesson.
From last week, Algeria, and now Sudan. They should pay attention. But starting from Mugabe.
No, Mugabe.
Starting from Mugabe.
Mugabe never listened to me. I told him, Mugabe, please, President, Your Excellency, start making a transition. The moment I brought in the word transition,
it was not agreeing with him, yes.
The director of intelligence called Bonyongwe hated me. Bonyongwe, Hampton, hated me. Where are you now, Bonyongwe? Where are you? You hated me. I said, okay, fine. Bonyongwe hated me. You know, one thing that has made me be hated in Africa. Maybe, Miriam, you always look at me, but you don't tell me. Why don't you tell me and help me? Oh, I speak facts. They hurt me.
They bring you problems.
Yes, they hurt some people. This director of intelligence of Zimbabwe called Upton Bonyongwe went back and said, I'm a very bad person. Told Mugabe, I'm a very, very terrible. The man can overturn us. Me, I was trying to tell my president, the one I love so much, Hampton Bonyongwe, the director of intelligence of CIO, went and put it with Jonathan Moyo, that man lumpen here. They put a report that I was only telling Mugabe, do what we call a transition, sir. People are jostling over power. Mrs. Mujuru wants power. Your wife, by then, was with Mnangagwa. When they went to brief Mugabe, the wife had transition. She also said she's in the transition. Have you seen where we went? That's where we went. That's where we reached. And
one of you saying the AU leaders meet year in and year out to whine and have fun at the expense of the taxpayer. This is not good at all. We will not keep this organization. I remember this year they had the 32nd AU summit that happened and of course we were here talking about it. And there were a lot of things that we were hoping they would address. And one of those is what was happening in Libya, in Cameroon, and in Biafra and things like that. And it was very unfortunate that they did not pay attention to that. In fact, they moved the talks for Libya to July. That is when they're supposed to address. They didn't look at it as very urgent. And now look at what is happening in Libya. Has it been overtaken with
No, because it was a timetable well done by Moussa Faki. He knew very well that if they moved this report to July, isn't it? The Libya will have General Haftar Khalifa.
So was it a plan?
Just shake my hand. Mama.
Was it a plan?
Yes. A well-coordinated plan.
Because you would think from January to July, how does that make
sense? The French manipulated all events. If someone thinks I'm a madman in the market, can you tell me where General Haftar is getting the aircraft?
There has to be very serious sponsors of what is happening.
Aircraft that are bombing. He is not in the government. The other side is in the government. But these aircrafts that are bombing Tripoli, that are bombing Misrata, that are bombing Sata, that are bombing all the cities down south of Tripoli. covering him, air strikes are covering everybody in the desert as he moves from Benghazi. Whose planes are these?
And what is Egyptian President Al-Sisi saying? I haven't heard him come out.
You have knocked it.
Being as the chairman.
You have knocked it.
Yes.
The planes are coming from Cairo. Why do you hide? The planes are from Egypt. They are basing from Egypt to because there's no network in Libya.
No.
You can't control those aircrafts. There's no signal. The satellite is in Egypt.
Everything is broken down there, yes.
Yes, and they come from there with the support of the satellites of the French. Why are we hiding? Italian Prime Minister cried and said, France is killing Libya. You remember?
Yes.
He said it because they are struggling in Tripoli to form a government to put elections together. France is saying, no, Khalifa Haftar. Apparently, is the only.
Who even thinks about having elections in Libya as it is right now?
They were going to have, because UN.
In very few, is it in a month's time or so?
Yes, UN believes that elections is the only elections that can, which is true. The only weapon to neutralize weapons is an election. But no election will take place in
such an environment.
No. No election will take place.
And General Haftar, you know, when it came to the coup that removed Gaddafi in power, he was backed by the CIA. Americans, did you know that? He was backed by the CIA. And of course, he's at the start of anti-Gaddafi uprisings in 2011. The field marshal returned to Libya, where he became a key commander of the makeshift rebel force in the east. And that is that. So as it is right now. And of course, Russian name has been thrown. There's been said that Russia is also supporting General Haftar, but Russia has come out to refute those claims, saying it's not very true. So we're seeing a lot of proxy war happening right now in Libya, and there seems to be a lot at stake. The oil, of course, being part of everything that is happening there. Could it be the center of what is happening? The more the chaos, the easier it is for people to siphon and people make profit out of it.
It is. It's a sorry state. My dear,
Yes.
They have forgotten Cameroon, they have forgotten everything. We are back to zero center one. The center cannot hold.
The center cannot
AU is no more.
Yes.
Let's look at it in the People's Court in the afternoon.
Later on in the afternoon.
At 3 p.m.
All right.
Today you will struggle it.
Okay, we will struggle
Alone.
together.
We struggle together. Thank you.
We'll be together.
Thank you very much, Miriam.
Yes.
And thank you very much. I've expressed my views.
Yes.
But the only one word that the president can do, the courts in Kenya are a disgrace to the world. A judge releasing the man to go and see the scene where the woman was murdered.
Tamper with the scene of crime.
And tamper with, they may be witnesses. That's all we can tell you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, our station across Berlin. Next coming is the football by Salah. I am Liverpool, and I'm very much happy to see our station is now broadcasting Salah. Our sister station is on Salah, is Liverpool.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Liverpool is.
I'm also Liverpool, and thank you very much. Back to you, Miriam, to finish your program.
Yes, indeed, and I want to thank our viewers who have kept us company today. Thank you so much, and hopefully we can see you in our next broadcast in just a few hours from now. I am Miriam Ogutu, and for me, all the way from the Kenya's capital in Nairobi, it is bye-bye for now.
Thank you.